Well, Wednesdays here on the program, we like to put the spotlight on the farm women's group Common Ground.
Common Ground is a group of farm women who want to be a resource for consumers who want to know more about how their food is grown. So joining us today is volunteer Leslie Boswell. Always good to see you, Leslie.
I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, I know it's always busy for you. State Fair was good for you this year?
State Fair was, and I spent about 5 days there working in various locations, and I always love the fairs. I've never missed a state fair. So
really?
Do I dare say how many? But I've never missed a state fair. That was my 59th fair.
So you've going ever since you were little?
I have.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I love the fair. And then, of course, we went right on to Harvest Days the next week.
Right, and then now we want to talk about harvest. I know we see combines in the field right now. Some farmers are also cutting down the corn used for silage. Talk about that.
Silage is something that is a vital part of what we feed our cattle. They take the whole stalk and the ear. They want some corn on it, but it doesn't have to be dried down like it does for regular harvest. They chop it all up. They blow it into trucks. You can see the trucks that are running along beside the choppers. They take that to wherever their location is. They jump it on a big pile. They use the bulldozers and they doze it all up into a big solid pile. They don't want a lot of air in it. And then that just keeps that way, almost ferments. And that's what they use to feed their cattle all through the year. They hopefully get enough to get to the next harvest.
Oh, yeah. So through the winter, especially. You know, I was under the impression that silage was corn that was no longer usable as corn, or maybe it got hailed out, and so then they cut it for silage. But this is being used specifically for silage.
It is. There's not necessarily specific hybrids that are grown for silage, although there are some that have a little bit more tonnage, which is what you want per acre. That's figured in tons. But it can be used for hailed. If you've got a field that has been hailed and you weren't planning on using it for silage, but you've got another area that would be better for the corn, you can go ahead and chop it for silage. That's an option. But some corn, regardless of whether it's been damaged or not, it's going to be chopped every year because they need it for their cattle. It's a huge part of the cattle feeding process.
Do you know going into the year what field you're going to use for silage?
Normally, yes. You have it figured out, and some guys that will chop silage every year will do it on different fields every year. Because when you take all of that corn stalk off and all of the residue that goes with it, the leaves and all of that, you're cutting the stalks down to short, and you're not leaving much in the field, and so you're losing a lot of nutrients when all of that organic matter doesn't go back into the soil. So a lot of times what they'll do is they will chop a field, and that year they will put compost on it from the feedlot normally, and then work that in, and that replaces that organic matter. And then the next year they'll do it on a different field, and they'll work that organic matter in after it's been chopped, because you don't want to take all of those nutrients off of that field without having some way to replace it. And by composting manure from the feedlots, respreading it on the field, it's a perfect way to get rid of the manure and also to build up the organic matter in your soil.
Yeah, just taking care of your land there.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Leslie, thank you, and we have a great recipe to share in just a bit.
We do. It's a good one.
It's a good one.
Does look good. All right.
Thank you.